The morning mist hung over Lakewood, Michigan, like a gray silk scarf draped awkwardly over the treetops. Small houses lined the lake's edge, clapboard exteriors faded from decades of sun, docks stretching like fingers into the water, each one boasting a weathered Adirondack chair and a faded sign of the family name. Logan Carter shuffled along the wooden planks of his own dock, khakis slightly wrinkled, plaid shirt sleeves rolled to elbows, coffee mug steaming with the gentle promise of caffeine. Fishing was Logan's meditation, his modest rebellion against spreadsheets and endless accounting calls. Yet today, as the sun struggled through misty clouds, even the lake seemed to chuckle at his precision. His tackle box tumbled from one end of the dock to the other when he tripped over his boot, scattering lures like confetti in a slow-motion parade. A bluegill skipped across the water, as if mocking his inelegant entrance. Nearby, Mr. Thompson, a retired Navy veteran with a permanent sunburn and a hat that seemed sewn from decades of memories, adjusted his own fishing line. "Morning, Logan," he called, voice gruff but warm. "You aim to catch anything or just entertain the fish?" Logan waved half-heartedly, treading carefully to avoid slipping on damp wood. "Both," he said, smirking at his own clumsiness. The lake's surface mirrored the gray sky, broken intermittently by fish breaking the water with sudden, gleeful arcs. One particularly ambitious bass leapt from the water and landed back with a spectacular splash, sending ripples toward Logan's dock. He watched, heart racing, not from excitement but from fear of getting drenched, which happened more often than he liked to admit. Some mornings, Lakewood seemed to conspire. Fish jumping just far enough to remind you that life isn't about staying dry, it's about how stylishly you get wet. Logan cast his line, and the next 10 minutes were a study in slapstick patience. Hooks caught nothing but weeds. His coffee tilted precariously, almost tumbling into the lake before he snatched it, eyes wide, as if the universe had timed this perfectly. A canoe slid silently by, the occupants waving cheerfully, oblivious to Logan's private comedy of errors. Mrs. Davis, a sprightly octogenarian who lived across the lake, waved from her porch, her garden hat comically large and askew. "Caught anything yet, young man?" she called. "Just my dignity," Logan replied, earning a laugh from Mr. Thompson. A small flock of geese honked overhead, diving into the lake with perfect, intimidating precision. A sudden breeze flipped Logan's hat into the water. Without thinking, he lunged, losing balance and falling onto the dock, arms flailing like a fish out of water, literally. The splash barely reached the fish, which leapt again, as if to say, "You may fall, but I'm still free." In Lakewood, fish had a philosophy: jump, land, repeat. Logan, on the other hand, had the philosophy: trip, flap, hope no one saw. By mid-morning, a light rain began, small droplets dotting the lake like tiny mirrors. Logan's neighbor, Samantha Reed, appeared with a bright yellow raincoat and a thermos, offering a silent hand of support. "Need help with that hat?" she asked, eyebrow raised. Logan nodded sheepishly, retrieving his soggy headwear with dignity slightly dampened. Symbolism seemed unavoidable. The fish leaping freely, Logan slipping and splashing, the rain both annoying and cleansing. Each failed cast, every missed jump, and each puddle of water on his dock mirrored life's small setbacks. But Logan's humor, subtle and dry, kept him grounded, or at least, partially upright. Hours passed with more attempts, the sun breaking through clouds intermittently. Logan finally felt the tug on his line, a promising bite. He yanked with careful balance, wobbling dangerously, and the fish jumped spectacularly out of the water, twisting in midair before plunging back. Logan laughed, heart racing, realizing it wasn't victory he felt but exhilaration. The fish had jumped out, yes, but it returned to its element, a reflection of his own life's minor leaps and returns. By noon, other townsfolk joined along the docks. Children splashed at the water's edge, trying their luck, occasionally drenched by an unexpected leap. Old Mr. Thompson offered sage advice with a wink: sometimes you jump, sometimes you flop. Both teach you something. Logan watched the lake dance, the fish leaping, the water rippling, and thought, perhaps the lesson isn't in catching or missing, but in participating, in jumping, failing, laughing, and getting back in. Lunch brought a small gathering of neighbors on the pier, sandwiches, thermoses, and casual conversation. Logan recounted his morning mishaps, exaggerating for comedic effect. Everyone laughed, the humor both bonding and comforting. Even a small rainbow appeared in the mist, reflected faintly across the water. Symbolically, the lake whispered a subtle reminder: life will toss you out of your comfort zone, but returning to familiar waters is sometimes a triumph in itself. By afternoon, Logan's confidence improved. Each attempt at fishing became smoother, more attentive, yet still sprinkled with occasional missteps. A dropped lure, an errant splash, a boat drifting too close. But with each mistake, the laughter around him grew louder, more sincere, the symbolic fish jumps, reinforcing a life lesson. Failure and success coexist, sometimes in the same moment. As the sun descended, painting the lake in golden hues, Logan finally caught a modest perch, small, but remarkable given the morning's chaos. He released it back into the lake, watching it vanish with a flick of silver and a splash. In Lakewood, Michigan, the fish jumped. Logan fell. Coffee nearly drowned. And everyone learned, in their own soggy, splashing way, that life's leaps don't end when you land. They continue in laughter, reflection, and the occasional soggy sock. Logan packed his gear, dripping but content, walking along the dock toward home. He glanced at the lake, where fish continued their acrobatics, children still played, and neighbors waved. A sense of calm wrapped around him, tempered with humor and humility. Life, like the leaping fish, was a cycle of risk, return, and the quiet joy of simply trying. By late afternoon, Lakewood, Michigan had shed the morning mist for a calm, golden-hued sun that sparkled across the lake like liquid amber. The air smelled faintly of pine, damp earth, and the lingering scent of fishing bait. Logan Carter, still damp from earlier dock escapades, walked along the shoreline with a subtle spring in his step. His khakis were slightly muddy, his plaid shirt streaked with water, and his coffee thermos was empty, a casualty of his morning ballet of clumsiness. The lake's surface rippled with gentle wind, and the fish, true to their whimsical nature, leapt periodically, arcs of silver cutting through sunlight. A small bluegill performed a spectacular jump near Logan, landing back with a dramatic splash that sent water droplets onto his boots. He laughed, realizing the lake had its own sense of humor, a playful reminder that even in calm moments, surprises awaited. Nearby, children played along the shoreline, attempting their own casts with tiny fishing poles. A boy named Eddie got his line tangled in a bush, while his sister, Claire, managed a surprisingly graceful throw that sent her hook skimming across the lake. Adults laughed, occasionally helping, occasionally shaking their heads, the rhythm of small-town life unfolding like a gentle comedy. Logan found Samantha Reed setting up a picnic area for a small lakeside gathering. Her bright yellow raincoat had been swapped for a casual sundress now that the sun broke through clouds, and she waved as he approached. "Caught anything worthwhile this morning?" she teased, a mischievous smile on her face. "Only my pride and a few wet socks," Logan replied, earning a laugh. "But I did learn something about fish, and patience. Sometimes life gives you small victories disguised as near drownings, soggy clothing, and fish that clearly have more social skills than most adults you know." The picnic was simple. Sandwiches, lemonade, and fruit bowls arranged on a weathered picnic table. Neighbors trickled in, each bringing their own touch: homemade cookies from Mrs. Davis, a thermos of iced coffee from Mr. Thompson, and a small speaker playing gentle acoustic tunes. Logan found himself sitting between Eddie and Claire, helping untangle fishing lines, while the lake sparkled in the background, reflecting each interaction with delicate, mirrored light. He cast his line one last time, aiming for quiet reflection rather than the thrill of the catch. The fish, as if aware of his introspection, leapt once, twice, and then paused, letting him watch. The arcs were mesmerizing, silver bodies slicing through sunlight, landing back into the water with gentle splashes. It struck him, the fish didn't resist returning to their element. They jumped, tasted freedom, and came back. Life, he thought, was the same. Some days, you leap out of your comfort zone, thrash awkwardly, and hope you land well. Other days, you return to familiar waters, but with a little more grace, a little more knowledge, and a story worth telling. As afternoon gave way to evening, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of lakeside trees. Logan helped Mr. Thompson bait hooks for the kids while chatting about mundane things: the price of gas, local baseball scores, and which pie at Maple Crust was superior. Even in simple conversation, there was warmth, a subtle reminder that community was the real treasure of small-town life. Suddenly, a light sprinkle began, just enough to create tiny ripples on the water and to add sparkle to each fish's scales. Logan chuckled at the timing. The rain, soft and playful, seemed like an encore for the day's earlier chaos. Children shrieked in delight, dancing in puddles, their laughter mixing with the rhythmic plop of fish re-entering the water. In Lakewood, the universe had a sense of timing. Not cruel, not careless, just perfectly ironic. It let you slip, splash, and laugh, and then reminded you that water always returns, fish always land back, and somehow, everything is okay. By twilight, Logan stood at the dock, arms resting on the railing, watching the final light dance across the lake. A rainbow appeared faintly in the sky, its reflection shimmering on water like a bridge between effort and reward. For the first time in the day, he didn't feel clumsy, wet, or frustrated. He felt connected, to the lake, to the town, to the quiet lessons hidden in ordinary moments. Neighbors waved as they left the shore, children clutching their catch, some real, some imaginary, all joyful. Samantha packed up picnic blankets, giving Logan a wink. "See you tomorrow," she called. Logan raised his coffee thermos in mock salute. "See you, and I'll try not to fall in the lake this time. Sometimes the fish jump, sometimes you do, and sometimes, both land safely back where they belong. And if you're lucky, there's laughter, there's community, and there's a little rainbow reflecting exactly where it should, over your own soggy, smiling self." The evening settled softly. Fireflies began flickering near the shore, lanterns glowing faintly on docks, and the lake mirrored the dusky sky. Logan packed his gear, feeling satisfied, not because of big achievements, but because of small lessons, shared laughter, and the quiet understanding that life, much like a fisher's leap, was better when embraced with humor and humility. Leap, splash, laugh. Return, reflect, and maybe next time, jump a little further. Life's waters are forgiving if you're willing to swim.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivate.